Welcome to a new SCS Insane series. I'm Zerania, and this run will be featuring two different parties, one good, one evil, but a little bit more on that later. Let's go ahead and get some ground rules started for this run. The amount of abuse you can do in the Infinity engine is quite high, so we're going to put some limits on it to keep things interesting in this run. First up is no stacking potions. Notably, Potions of Master Thievery lets you stack those up and pickpocket everything in Athica at the start of the game. We will not be able to do that here. Second, when we fight for real. We are not going to exploit leaving and coming back. Most notably is the Twisted Rune, where if you zerg down the Beholder and have multiple Rogue Stones, you can leave and come back, and wait out their buffs that way. And we will not be doing that here. Nor are we going to be off-screening things with AoEs. When we fight, we are going to do a real fight. Third, we are only going to be able to take a single HLA trap of each kind and no using normal traps. Traps make things a little bit too cheesy, especially if you rest spam with them. So we're just going to take that right out. However, backstabbing is going to be okay. Thieves get pretty weak at high levels if you're not using traps completely and not using backstabbing, so even though that does mean we get to backstab people before their contingencies fire, that's going to be okay. Next, we're not going to try and do anything specifically to farm extra XP, like unlearning spells and relearning them with scrolls, or rest spamming to hit more XP, but we will be using the 32,000 and 1.125 million XP breakpoints in BG1 and BG2. For BG1, we are going to do the Werewolf Island and finish Durlag's Tower. And for BG2, we are going to kill all dragons, Kangax, the Twisted Rune, Demigorgon, and we're also going to at least visit all the major quest areas for companions, though we're not going to recruit all of them. The evil party is headed up by a gnome fighter illusionist, neutral evil. She got a stat roll of 89, and then I have picked up the charisma tome in this screenshot. So that is why she has a solid 4 charisma. I went with a gnome fighter illusionist for a couple reasons actually. One is the good party is headed up by a divine caster. So I wanted to feature an arcane caster on this side. A gnome fighter illusionist loses necromancy skills, and I will be having another illusionist in this party, which means that no horde wilting spamming for the strongest archetype, which is the fighter mage, though the dual class is probably a little bit better, though that is one that leads to a lot of debate. Stat-wise, Evil Zerania has a roll of 89, though I did pick up the Charisma Tome here. It is the dump stat, but that is why she has 4 instead of 3. Notably, Dex is 17, so that when I pick up the Tome, it goes up to 18. There's no extra AC at 19, and she's not a ranged attacker. So going with 17 so that I can have a little bit nicer other stats is perfectly acceptable. Strength is 1828. That only matters in BG1 because she will be picking up the Strength Tome to get that 19, and we just skip over all the percentile stuff. Con of 18 is what you want for warriors. We'll get to 19 and then higher as we go. Int of 19 as a gnome, you get to have that. It doesn't really matter. A 17 would have been perfectly acceptable. Still be able to learn 9th level spells with the tome. But by having a 19 int, it makes scribing scrolls just a little bit easier. Wisdom of 14, that will be +1 from the tome times 3 in this one, which will bring us up to 17, and then I won't probably be wishing till after we get to the Machine Alum the Mad, so that will get us up to the 18 wisdom that she needs. Next up we have Jahira. She's going to be a primary tank and insect plague dealer, and overall just a thick girl. We are using Dorn here because we want to use an EE companion for each party, and I've never played with him before. In BG1, he's mostly going to end up being an archer. In BG2, he will be using the Defender of East Haven in the offhand, and a either Phobane or Axe of the Unyielding, or some kind of main hand to help be a primary damage dealer. We have Viconia, aka Vicky. She's going to be our primary cleric. She's going to be standing around tossing out buffs, though later on she'll probably toss on Righteous Magic, Holy Power, and get to smashing, especially with the improved Mace of Disruption to help take out the undead. In BG1, we have Monty. In BG2, he's going to be replaced by one Jan Jansen, which is the second illusionist that I was going to be talking about. This is our thief role. In BG1, it's a fighter thief. BG2, it's a mage thief, illusionist. This is a person using bows, though can go in for backstabs, especially with mislead in BG2. And you do kind of want to have a thief to take out traps just to make things a little bit smoother, though obviously you can go through without them if needed. Then our last slot is Edwin. He is our primary caster. He's the best caster in this game, basically, because his amulet gives him an extra spell slot in BG1, 2 extra spell slots in BG2, and since he's a conjurer, that just means that he has spells for days. The last thing I want to point out is for the evil party, we have Jaheira with no Khalid and Monty with no Czar. That is typically something that you would need to have together, but there are solutions that can be done for that. Switching over to the good party, the main PC is a Berserker who will also be dueling into Druid. And that means that I'm not going to be taking Jaheira, who's a staple companion in my runs, but I wanted to make sure that each party was completely distinct. For the Eagle-Eyed here, you'll notice that I have katana proficiency, and I plan on never using a katana, and if you duel into a Druid, you have no use for katanas because you can't use them. That's because the SCS Earth Elemental Transformation actually uses katana proficiency. So this is why this character is going to be able to go in and Hulk Smash pretty effectively. Stat-wise, she got a 99, which was very good. That let me get everything I wanted. Strength of 1806 doesn't matter because that will be 19 very shortly. The Dex of 18 is perfect. Con of 18 is perfect. Int of 10 lets us get to Int 11 with the Tome, which means that she'll be able to take 2 hits from Mind Flayers. 18 Wisdom means that I'll be able to get to 24 Wisdom, which is the highest you can get permanently in this game, which lets you get some extra spells. And then a 17 Charisma with +1 from the Tome already picked up and wearing the cloak. I get to have 20 Charisma. Just means I don't have to swap in the Ring of Human Influence, though as a Druid dual class, you actually need 17 Charisma, which is questionable in my mind, but that lets us actually do our planned build. In BG1, we have Ajantis. He will be replaced in BG2 for obvious reasons. He gets killed off by Furcrag's quest, and you don't actually get to see him. That's just a little Easter egg if you have the right people in the party. He's going to be replaced by Aerie. This slot is another tank slot and extra caster in BG2. Aerie's con is low, but we'll be giving her the belt to fix that. And her slower spell progression is not going to be a problem because we're going to have a backup caster of each slot anyway. For Branwen in BG1, she will be replaced by Animin in BG2. This is our primary cleric, and Animin is actually a better fighter cleric than Vicky is. Vicky obviously gets the magic resistance, but Animin gets the extra attacks. So he gets to go with the IMOD better. We have Corin for BG1. Since he doesn't follow us over to BG2, he's going to be replaced by Valigar. This is our extra physical DPS slot. Corin's the best archer in the game, bar none. He has a legal dex of 20. He has 3 points in longbow, despite being a multi-class. So he gets to cheat, and we're here for it. Valigar is going to be a backstabber. He's going to be our other Defender of East Haven person using Armor of Faith. But they're both a little bit squishy, so I didn't want to have too many people on the front line that are squishy. That's why I went with a pretty tanky main character, since I planned on using some of these others who would be taking the Defender of East Haven from me. Our EE companion in this run is Nira. In BG2, she is almost as good as Edwin in my mind. Some people might think she's a little bit better. Some people think she's a little bit worse. She is not my favorite companion, but I wanted, like I said, to actually take EE companions with me rather than just ignoring them for the companions that I've known and loved for years. She is going to be our primary caster. She's going to have on Robe of Vecna, Amulet of Power, and chain off with Reckless Dweemer, but that comes a little bit later. In BG1, she's more of a liability because her quirky wild magic will just sometimes randomly kill you. Makes it hard to plan out a fight and go for it completely whenever your plane has a 5% chance to just get completely screwed over. In BG1, we're actually taking Zan. I never take him because in BG1, the best casters are Edward and Berloth. So those are the ones I pretty much always take. But since I'm doing a unique set of casters and this is a good party, we're taking Zan. As an enchanter, he gets to have the best sleep. His chaos gets a little bit harder to get resisted, so if I can toss out a Greater Malazan and a chaos, that should be pretty solid. The biggest issue is there's only one scroll of Spell Thrust in BG1. And I'm not taking Berloth in either run. For the good party, it's because he's evil, so I'm not doing mixed on that one. And for the evil party, I tried to keep as many people together that will follow for BG1 and BG2, which was kind of the idea behind this run in the first place. And you'll note that the good party has very similar roles, even if the exact people don't follow. For BG2, Zan will be replaced by Nalia. That lets us have a thief. It does mean that she has to have the ring swapped in and out. Imoen would be a better thief, but a little bit worse of a mage. The biggest issue there is you can't get her till Spellhold, and I don't want to delay that long, and Jane Jansen is already taken, so Nalia is our next best option. You'll also note that the roles are kind of similar throughout, in that I have a druid, a cleric, a couple mages, and a thief. One is just a pretty solid party composition to have. The high-level druids, where they get the Earth Elemental transformation, are just very good. Jaheira is going to actually be immune to physical damage with hardiness up, as well as Armor of the Faith. My main PC will not be completely immune, but we'll get pretty close. And the extra druid spellcasting and extra attacks from the dual class are going to make it pretty interesting here. The last thing that you may have noticed is this Zorania is neutral good, which if you are dueling into druid, typically you have to be true neutral. That leads me into the mods that I'm using. Obviously we have SCS, because this is an SCS insane run. But one of the other mods is with the CD tweaks. It allows you to have 3.5 or 3.0 edition druid alignments, so you can be neutral evil, neutral good, or true neutral. We also have true Grand Mastery installed. We've changed over the spellcasting to be the unnerfed ones through CD tweaks. We're also moving some NPCs to more convenient locations. Notably, you can recruit Alora, Eldoth, Quail, Shartiel, Tiax, and Viconia in different locations. It also makes it so that the Cloakwood areas are opened up until the mines. You can't go to the mines before you clear the bandit camp. However, you can get Corin and complete his quest before you do anything else. So that's why you'll note that Koran is here, and you'll see him pretty early on in the party. For SCS, I do have basically everything installed in BG1. BG2, it's a little less. I don't remove the items because I like playing with them, but I'll put my exact Weidu log down below. Also in BG2, I do have the rogue rebalancing only for the Chosen of Sirik encounter, just because it leads to some interesting gear pieces and another good fight. I think that's it for the first video here. Starting up in the next one, you'll see more beyond Candlekeep, where we will go all the way up through the Bandit camp.